Jake Davis, a young American, often found himself daydreaming about distant lands and cultures. Growing up in a small town in America, he had always been restless with curiosity. His parents had instilled in him a love for travel through their stories of backpacking through Europe and Asia in their youth. Now, at 25, Jake felt the time was right to embark on his own adventure. Armed with a backpack, a camera, and an insatiable curiosity, he set off for his first destination, Pakistan. Jake Davis stepped out of the Islamabad airport into the warm embrace of the Pakistani sun. Islamabad's clean, organized streets were lined with trees and parks, creating an atmosphere of calm that Jake found surprising for a capital city. He spent hours exploring the Pakistan Monument, its flower-petal structure symbolizing the unity of the country's diverse cultures. From the top of Shakarparian Hill, he gazed at the panoramic view of the city, the Margala Hills forming a majestic backdrop. But the highlight of Islamabad was the Faisal Mosque. As Jake approached the mosque, its massive triangular design loomed above him, starkly beautiful against the blue sky. The modern architecture was a masterpiece, with clean lines and geometric precision that blended seamlessly with the surrounding mountains. Stepping inside, Jake felt a sense of peace wash over him as the cool marble beneath his feet and the serene silence of the prayer hall invited contemplation. He watched as worshippers came and went, their reverence adding to the mosque's sacred atmosphere. Eager to explore more of Pakistan's natural beauty, Jake set his sights on the northern regions. By the locals, he was arranged to join a small group of travelers on a journey northward. The trip began with a long but scenic drive along the Karakoram Highway, often referred to as the eighth wonder of the world. The road wound through mountains and valleys, with each turn offering a new breathtaking view. As they drove deeper into the mountains, the landscape became increasingly dramatic. Snow-capped peaks towered above, and rivers cut through the valleys like silver threads. The air grew cooler, fresher, and Jake felt a growing sense of awe at the raw beauty surrounding him. After hours of driving, the group finally arrived in Hunza. Jake's first sight of the valley was something he would never forget. Nestled between some of the world's highest peaks, Hunza was a paradise of lush green terraces, fruit orchards, and crystal-clear streams. The valley was surrounded by mountains so high that they seemed to touch the sky, and the vibrant blue of the Hunza River snaked through the landscape like a ribbon of life. Jake stayed in Karimabad, the main town of the Hunza Valley. Here, he was welcomed into the home of a local family, the Alis, who ran a small guest house. The Ali family embodied the spirit of the Hunza people, warm, generous, and deeply connected to their land. They spoke English well, which allowed Jake to engage in long conversations with them about their way of life. Every morning, Jake would wake up to the sight of the sun rising over the Rakaposhi mountain, its snow-covered peak glowing in the early light. Breakfast was a simple yet delicious affair: fresh apricots from the family's orchard, homemade bread, and honey. During the day, Jake explored the valley, often accompanied by Mr. Ali, who acted as his guide. They visited the ancient Balted Fort, a testament to the region's rich history, perched high on a hill overlooking the valley. Upon asking, Mr. Ali told Jake about the history of this fort. "Ah, Balted Fort," Mr. Ali began, his voice filled with reverence. "It's not just a fort. It's the heart of Hunza's history. Built over 700 years ago, this fort has witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties, the struggles of the people, and the changing tides of history. According to legend, Mr. Ali continued, the fort was built by Mir Ayasho II, a ruler of Hunza, who married a princess from Baltistan. The princess brought Balti masons and craftsmen with her as part of her dowry, and they constructed the fort in the Tibetan style that you see today. That's why the fort has a unique blend of architectural influences, Tibetan, Balti, and local traditions, all fused into one. Mr. Ali explained that the fort had served as the residence of the ruling Mirs of Hunza for centuries. It was not just a home, it was a symbol of power, a strategic fortress that allowed the rulers to control the valley and protect their people from invaders. The location was chosen carefully, perched high on a hill. The fort provided a clear view of the entire valley, and the surrounding mountains acted as natural defenses. These walls, Mr. Ali said, have seen countless battles and witnessed the fortunes of Hunza rise and fall. The fort was even besieged by the British in the late 19th century during the Great Game, when they sought to control this strategic region. Jake was fascinated by how the fort had been more than just a military stronghold. It had also been a center of governance, culture, and diplomacy. Mr. Ali spoke of the fort's decline in the 20th century, and the Mirs moved to a more modern palace in the valley below. The fort, once the pride of Hunza, fell into disrepair until the Aga Khan Trust for Culture undertook a restoration project in the 1990s, preserving it for future generations. One of the most iconic sites in Hunza was the mighty Rakaposhi, standing at an imposing 7,788 meters. Known as the Mother of Mist, Rakaposhi's snow-covered peak often seemed to float in the clouds, creating a mystical aura around it. Jake, along with his host Mr. Ali, embarked on a trek to the Rakaposhi base camp, one of the highlights of his stay in Hunza. The trek was challenging, but the scenery was more than worth the effort. Another adventure awaited Jake in the Nagar Valley, just across the Hunza River. Here, he visited the Hopper Glacier, one of the most accessible and striking glaciers in the region. The Hopper Glacier was a sight to behold. A massive river of ice. It flowed down from the peaks of the Karakoram Range, its surface marked by deep crevasses and jagged ice formations. Jake was overwhelmed by the raw beauty of the scene, a reminder of nature's relentless force. No visit to Hunza would be complete without a trip to Eagle's Nest, a viewpoint perched high above the valley offering one of the most spectacular panoramas in the region. The journey to Eagle's Nest took Jake through the village of Dukar, where the road climbed steeply upwards, winding through pine forests and past terraced fields. As they reached the top, Jake was greeted by a view that took his breath away. From Eagle's Nest, he could see the entire Hunza Valley spread out below him, with the peaks of Rakaposhi, Ultarsar, and Ladyfinger rising majestically in the distance. The valley, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, looked like a scene from a dream. Jake sat in silence, taking in the view, feeling a deep connection to the land and the people who called it home. Jake knew that this would be a memory he would carry with him forever.